At some point in their career, every famous athlete has to accept the fact that their life is displayed to the whole world. This is what comes with fame and success. Every decision or mistake they make later becomes the topic of discussion. In today's video, we're going to talk about the most controversial moments in the career of famous athletes. The first controversy we will talk about is what happened in the second battle between Tyson and Holyfield. Mike Tyson, the widely known athlete, became the youngest heavyweight champion in 1986, after beating Trevor Berbick when he was just 19 years old. Through his career, Tyson was known to be indestructible. However, fate took a different path during his first encounter with Holyfield. It came as a surprise to many of the fans that he was able to dominate Tyson for 11 rounds and finally won Tyson's WBA title. In 1997, they had a rematch. In the first round, it was obvious that Holyfield was dominating again. By the end of that round, the crowd started shouting Holyfield's name, which made Tyson furious. The second round also turned out to be in Holyfield's favor. He headbutted Tyson, injuring his right eye. In the third round, Tyson finally lost his temper. He spit out his mouthpiece and bit off a small part of Holyfield's right ear. After that, he bit Holyfield's other ear. Well, obviously, Tyson was disqualified from boxing after this incident and got himself a $3 million fine. Next, we'll talk about Muhammad Ali's Phantom Punch. Many of the fans obviously remember Muhammad Ali's historical win over Sonny Liston. However, it has always been a topic of controversy. Many people think that this win was not as genuine as it seemed. It is assumed that this iconic win in boxing history was nothing more than a staged scandal. Rumor has it that the winning hit was just a phantom punch, and Liston staged the loss because he was pressured by the Mafia force. A recognized appraiser and auctioneer, Kathleen Guzman, looked deep into this topic. The fight was held in a high school gym in a little town in Maine because of problems with the Massachusetts Boxing Commission regarding organized crime connections with the Liston camp. She explained, Muhammad Ali knocked Liston out with a punch that nobody could really see, meaning it was a quote-unquote phantom punch. That is exactly why a lot of people today think that the entire fight was rigged. This was hugely controversial because Ali was not known as a powerful puncher, Guzman explained. It's not even completely clear that he landed anything when he dropped Liston in the first round. Jimmy Cannon, who was ringside at the match, said the following, I saw that punch, and it couldn't have crushed a grape. Here's what boxing historian Nigel Collins wrote in his book Boxing Babylon about this matter. The answer is fear. During training, Liston had been visited by a couple of tough guys claiming to be representing the black Muslims. Their message was brutally simple. If Liston regained the title, there would be a bullet waiting for him. There's no 100% evidence for this controversy, but there is a reason to believe that it's true. Next, we'll talk about the famous Battle of the Sexes, a great example in the history of sports that gender does not play any role when it comes to winning trophies. Battle of the Sexes, that took place on September 20th, 1973, was an exhibition tennis match between famous undefeated Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King. It took place inside the Astrodome in Houston. Bobby Riggs was well known for his attitude towards women athletes. He never took them seriously, openly saying things like, she's a woman and they don't have the emotional stability to win, and women belong in the bedroom and kitchen in that order. In 1973, he challenged Billie Jean King to face him in a $100,000 USD match. Knowing what kind of person Riggs was and having a big will to put him in his place, Billie gladly accepted the challenge. It is noteworthy that a couple of months before the match, Billie spent all the time that was left training hard, while Bobby did nothing but partying hard and doing a minimal, if any, training. Well, it's good to know that Bobby lived to regret underestimating his opponent. Billie ended up winning the battle and continued her tennis career with even clearer visibility. She also became an activist for women's rights and also gay rights. Now we'll talk about Ben Johnson cheating his way to the gold medal in 1988. In 1988, Ben Johnson won the gold medal in the Seoul Olympics. He was able to beat his own record. Nobody, Johnson recalls in an interview with CNN, nobody could touch my start. It was obvious from the race that Ben was far ahead compared to his opponents. He was way faster, more powerful, and it even made Carl Lewis question whether there was another way Johnson had found his extra power. It came as a shock to the fans that 24 hours after the race, Ben Johnson failed the drug test. Traces of banned steroid stanozolol were found in his urine. I'd like to say my name is Benjamin Sinclair Johnson Jr., and this world record will last 50 years, maybe 100, Ben said. He also said, a gold medal, that's something no one can take away from you. But he was disqualified and the medal was taken taken from him. Despite that, Johnson still believes that it was the greatest race of all time, and he also said that drugs do not make you a faster runner. Here's what he said in an interview: "You only cheat if no one else is doing it. I was aware of what other people were doing in the field. I just did it better than anyone else. It doesn't make you a fast runner. It was my training regimen that was better than the rest of the world. My training was tailored for Ben Johnson, and my coach was a genius. Now the whole world is using my program." Next, let's talk about the 1968 Olympic protest. Many of you may be aware of the Black Power salute. The Summer Olympics in Mexico City in 1968 is without a doubt one of the most influential and powerful moments of protest in the history of sports. About 53 years ago, American sprinters Tommy Smith and John Carlos raised a black-gloved fist when they took a medal stand. They did it during the playing of the national anthem. "In life, there's the beginning and the end," says Carlos in an interview. "The beginning doesn't matter. The end doesn't matter. All that matters is what you do in between, whether you're prepared to do what it takes to make change. There has to be physical and material sacrifice. When all the dust settles and we're getting ready to play down for the 9th inning, the greatest reward is to know that you did your job when you were here on the planet." It was such a heroic movement, especially during that period when the Olympic Games took place at the peak of the civil rights movement in America. It's safe to say that gesture spoke thousands of words, and it will remain in the history of sports forever. And finally, we'll talk about Jesse Owens, how he embarrassed Nazis' propaganda movement. There was a very tense, politically influenced atmosphere in the 1936 Berlin Olympics. In the era of Nazis, a mass boycott would not be unexpected. The International Olympic Committee pressured the German government that during the game there would be no hate shown against Jewish people. "There's no room for discrimination on grounds of race, color, or creed in the Olympics." Mahoney, who by that time was appointed to the state Supreme Court, said the AAU voted in 1933 to accept an invitation to compete at Berlin in 1936, provided Germany pledged that there would be no discrimination against Jewish athletes. If that pledge is not kept, I personally do not see why we should compete. The committee received the assurance that professional Jewish athletes would be participating in the German team and nobody would use the games to promote the Nazi ideology. Despite that, the Vaness reported they had skeptical attitudes on this matter. They were right to suspect that. Nothing but formal and empty assurances on the question of Jewish participation in the Olympics could be expected from the committee, which, it was remarked, consisted of diplomats rather than sportsmen. As expected, Adolf Hitler's government did not keep the promise and used the game to promote their ideology. With all of the 348 athletes in the German team, they were simply the largest national team and conquered most of the medals overall, which pleased Hitler a lot. It came as an embarrassment to Hitler when African-American Jesse Owens won 3 individual gold medals. It was a big achievement because Owens' trophy was considered a blow to Hitler's ideology. Despite the shame of seeing his strongest Aryan runners defeated by African-Americans, Hitler still considered the Berlin Olympics to be a huge success. He even hired a German architect to design an enormous 400,000-seat stadium at Nuremberg that would host the Olympics at any time in the future. On this note, we end our video. Do not forget to subscribe and push the like button. We'll see you in the next video.